Hey everyone, thanks for having me. I'm really lucky today to kind of present Marshall's work that he's done recently. It's absolutely huge. He added Rclone support for Estuary. So for those of you who don't know what Rclone is, it's a command line program that helps you manage files on cloud storage. People enjoy using Rclone because it preserves timestamps, verifies checksums, and does a lot of syncing that's really useful. And so today we will go through a deep dive of how everything comes together, and you don't need to know much about Estuary or Rclone to follow along. It's important because Estuary is an effective way to pin data to IPFS and make Filecoin storage deals. And so if we have Rclone support, that just means much more files, many more petabytes of storage potentially. And currently, right now, Estuary is being used by Textile, Web3 Storage, NFT Storage, Zora, ChainSafe, and many other collaborators too. So we're hoping that this will open the funnel for more data. For those of you who've never used Estuary before, here's the website. We'll go through how to upload data without Rclone and how tedious that can feel. And then we'll show you what the difference is when you use Rclone. You can create an account, simple sign-in form. And then if you need to upload data, you need to have an API key. And so next slide. Here is a view of your files and data. So this is my account, and I have around 233 gigabytes. And that means that that data gets replicated 6 times. So it's around 1 terabyte of data in total. And anyone with an account can use this page to check. Here is the API key page. You can't actually steal these API keys. I've revoked all of them, but you can generate a key. And once you generate a key, you can go and upload data using any script that you might write. And then here's an example of that script. So you have an API key. If you were to upload one file at a time, you can use 28 lines of code, and you can use this example. You can either use the one that we have on GitHub or write one yourself. It's pretty simple. What you'll see is results. So if you fail and use the wrong API key, you won't upload anything. You won't get any response. It'll say error, invalid auth. But if you use an API key that's valid, you'll see the CID, the local Estuary ID, which is our own index, and then the providers that have it. So it's as IPFS as it gets. From here, Marshall will take over and show you how Rclone makes a huge difference.
Thanks, Jimmy. So as you said, Estuary is really great for basically automating a large data set onboarding into the Filecoin ecosystem. It does all the automated deal making, and it also does pinning and IPFS, which are really challenging to do from a client's perspective. But we still need a really good client front end to kind of manage the uploads and sort of file system import into that ecosystem. And so what Rclone gives us is two really, really big sort of value adds. One is it gives us a really simple, familiar interface from the command line that if anyone who's ever used Unix with ls and cp and mv and all those sort of rsync, all those sort of commands, it's very, very similar, almost one-to-one equivalent with most of those commands. But the second big one, and this is the kicker, is that it integrates with the vast majority of cloud providers out there. And so that means that getting data to and from existing storage infrastructure, Web2-based storage infrastructure, comes out of the box with Rclone. And so by supporting Estuary as a backend, that means that we can move data in mass from storage providers like Google Drive or Dropbox or S3 or so many other different examples that you can see on their website. Basically, to get started using Rclone, it's really straightforward. You just create a configuration file, and there's a tool that automates this for you. All you really need to have in that configuration file is the fact that you're using Estuary as your backend and the token that you get from the site that Jimmy just showed. And once you've got that configured, you can start using the Estuary backend as if it's a file system on your local computer. So just a couple of examples to show like the power of like how simple this can be to use. So for example, I have a directory in my Google Drive called Rclone test2, which has like another directory and some files under it. I can just like list that directory with Rclone and sort of see it like a normal file system. But what I can also do using the copy command is I can recursively copy that entire file system into Estuary. And if you notice in the second invocation here on my command, it's my command line, it's rclone copy. And there's one kind of slight difference between normal file systems, which is that you use the name of the cloud provider as a prefix to the path. So G drive : means I'm using Google Drive. Estuary : means I'm using Estuary. Those are the names I gave them. Those are totally arbitrary. You can use whatever names you like. But what I can do is I can copy that directory recursively, and then I can get that directory listing back, obviously, from Estuary using the subdirectory name that I chose. Obviously, these names are generated for testing purposes, but I think it's pretty straightforward. And so what Estuary does in the background, and this is not an rclone feature, this is an Estuary feature, is it's actually pinning that content onto IPFS, and it's automating the process of doing deal making and getting that storage into the Filecoin network. And so because now this content is in the Estuary backend, I can start doing things like seeing the CIDs for content immediately. And so there's another command that I added to rclone that specifically supports directory listing of CIDs based on content that you have in your directory structure. I just called it lscid. That seemed right. And what it lets you do is you see every file in that directory along with the CID as a column in the listing. This actually supports not just the CID as like a raw text string, but formatting as gateway URLs and a few other nice little features so that you can do like automated clicking and like you can resolve the content directly through a gateway if you really prefer to do it that way, things like that. But yeah, this is like a really good immediate feedback way to make sure that content is getting into Estuary, and then like what sort of data has been pinned and like where it will be pinned. And you can actually use these CIDs to retrieve content, usually using like dweb.link or IPFS.io after like usually a short delay after initial pinning. And so that's sort of like the TLDR on rclone. The purpose of this is like really to help these large data migrations get into Estuary. And again, most of the smarts of what's happening here are not in the client. They're in the backend of what Estuary does day to day, which is, take that uploaded content and then go automate the deal making and the management of the trusted storage providers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this has just provided a simpler user interface so that it makes it really straightforward to get this data into Estuary. So to get started today, you can go and clone the rclone fork that we have, which with our backend enabled in our application research GitHub. And just give us a hey in the ARC channel on Filecoin Slack. I'll be providing some binaries available for this soon. The public support for this in our public instance of Estuary should be live very soon as well. And so that's really exciting, and we can't wait for you guys to try it and let us know how your data migrations go.
Marshall, Cake, thank you so much. What's not represented on the screen here is how much the chat is blowing up on the value and simplicity of this kind of rclone support for Estuary. So like it is, folks are really, really excited. And I'll quote Cake here that there's no excuse for large data migrations to not pass billions of objects onto Filecoin now that the support's available. So thank you so much. And thank you for supporting Estuary since the middle of last year. It's just been an incredible tool to get more and more storage using IPFS and Filecoin.
It's an exciting project.
Great.